How is it going, everyone? It is your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast, and we got the crew together tonight for a packed show to get you on the road to Thanksgiving, to get you to Grandma's house. Wherever you are headed, we are here with you, and we got AEW Full Gear to break down. We got more women's championships coming. Do we have the end of the new day in front of us? And let us not forget, the Bloodline is about to go to war. All that and more, folks. Get ready. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need, that Big Gold Belt.
How is everyone doing out there? We are so glad you are here with us. If we are accompanying you on the road to Thanksgiving, or if we are accompanying you on your drive home, wherever you may be over this holiday weekend, we are glad you're here with us for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. We got most of the crew here tonight. Across from me at the top is Two Chains. I am Will. Over here on your right below me is Damian G, down in the Lone Star State, and down at the bottom left is the Giant Crab Jamal. Guys, how are y'all doing? Middle of the week here, short week, as a lot of stuff is happening in wrestling.
Yeah, and preparing those big old bellies for Thanksgiving.
I got my passport. I'm ready to go. Thursday can't come fast enough.
I'm just grateful for 4 days off.
Counting down the hours. Counting down the hours at this point. Absolutely. That is where we are at. So, folks, if you are traveling while you are listening to us, we hope you are having safe travels and easy times. We know how it's crazy out there on the roads and in the airports and all that stuff. So best wishes for safe travels over this long holiday weekend, wherever you are. So we're going to get right to it because this is a packed show tonight. We got a lot to get into, and we're going to start with this past weekend with AEW Full Gear that went down up in New Jersey. A very interesting show with a number of darn matchups that I saw a lot of takes on this show as far as like different people either liking certain things about it, not liking other things about it. And I thought it was just, for me, it was kind of a mixed bag. But when we went into this show last week, when me and Jamal were here holding things down and we talked about this show, we both had our number one matchup we were interested in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw it right out there first because I've seen so many people talking about it. And it just has to be said, forget the main card. We got to talk about Big Boom AJ.
I knew it.
Marshall on the 0 hour, because I'll straight up say it right now. That might be my most favorite AEW match ever. Flat out. I was thoroughly entertained, and I want to see more of Big Boom AJ in the AEW. So who wants to get in here next?
Me, because I'm deferring to Jamal on this one. Jamal has always been a very avid QT fan. So I know it hurts him to see the popularity come his way now, because when people wasn't on that shit before, now they're talking. But I honestly think that the credit should be given where the credit is due, and that's the work that QT has done in AEW since the beginning, from the different talent that he has brought up through the Nightmare Factory, from the nuclear heat that he got. I mean, listen, people always talk about the big names and the heat they get, the Dominic Mysterios, the whoever, but QT gets a reaction from the fans that people do not talk about. And when you do put in somebody, when you do have a match like this, I think you also have to put it in trusted hands, because a lot of this can go wrong. As we heard, somebody went in there with an injury, which is something we should be talking about probably at some point today. But the match was polished, you know, very entertaining, up and down the board. And again, we could talk so much we want about what the Walmart crew can do, but at the end of the day, it has to work with the professional, and the professional was QT. He kicked the pay-per-view off on the right foot, and he just continues to do good work. That dude deserves his flowers, and that should not ever be a understatement or a surprise or a hot take. That dude has definitely been one of the most valuable people in that company since the beginning.
It's really very simple. there's a lot of people that want to put everything behind the people that you're supposed to like. You know, your superstars, the merch movers, the men and women that get the most time on TV. But a level below that, there has to be somebody that holds the foundation. There has to be somebody that is competent enough to be inserted anywhere for any reason at any time. You need those utility players on your team because eventually you're not going to be able to rely on a star to do the thing. With this matchup between QT and Big Boom AJ, well, I didn't know what Big Boom AJ was. Still never seen any of their social media. But that could be me. I can be on that island, and 100 million other people are going, "The hell is wrong with you?"
You have not.
If that's what it is, that can be fine. Because this was the perfect marriage of this was the type of thing that I've been screaming about how AEW needs to do, and it came in the most unlikely place because it's not LeBron James, doing a run-in. It's not, Juan Soto doing a run-in or some other big name in some other hometown, crowd or whatever. It's not, because they've had that before. They've had. Remember when Trina was in the ring, and she looked like a deer in the headlights?
Yeah.
Because she knew
Jade Cargill.
Yeah, exactly. But she knew how to perform. She is a musician, but she is not a wrestler. She does not have whatever
You translate.
Yo, even you saying it is like, wait, did that really happen?
100% it happened.
It really did.
It absolutely happened, and she's still in the ring to this day. They just put a tarp over it. So when you bring somebody in, as everybody's alluded to, you need that utility person that's just going to come in and get the job done. Yeah. In baseball, it's the 6-hitter. It's the person after the meat and potatoes of the lineup. You just need that good guy that's batting 275 that's going to get on base and move the runners along. That's what QT has been doing. That's what he continues to do. And for all the shit that you want to talk about, if you don't care, you would keep your mouth shut. But as I saw people on Twitter laying into him, a fan gave you a compliment of how good the match was. Well, I don't need his compliment. I knew the match was good. A valid, response, because I didn't need, Joe Dirt from bumfuck Egypt to tell me how good I am with a 30-year career. So here come these fucking groundworms out of the ether. Oh, who knew that QT can elevate this match? Well, I just thought he was Cody's boy. Shut up.
You mean QT can go?
There's a lot of folks that you can make this argument with a lot of folks. I used to say it all the time about Dolph Ziggler. That and if you need somebody that's going to work talent, that you are sure that's not going to get hurt, that's going to put the person over, that's going to work a great match, he's your guy all day, every day. He is your guy. You don't have to worry about going above and beyond. He's going to work a good program. John Cena obviously has evolved into that as well too. And I know people like to talk about putting somebody over in terms of just the end result, but the work still has to happen in between. And these are folks that can do that,
I would say The Miz is a good guy like that.
The Miz, absolutely.
Damian Sandow was a good guy like that, where it wasn't overbearing. Hell, what was the match? Went to catch it wasn't Danny Limelight. When Danny Limelight first came in and he faced Kenny Omega, and people went, why is Omega not squashing this guy? Why is he having a 15-minute match on Dynamite with this guy? Who is this guy? So, not to say that Kenny's in that position. Obviously, he's a star. Whenever he comes back, he'll be inserted at the top. But it's still like you need that person that can come in and just get the job done.
Yeah.
And that's what this match was. And there's a reason why it was the match before the pay-per-view. Will said it last week. It actually could have been on the card.
It should have. At this rate, you kind of should have looked at analytics and said, we need to shift this.
And no bullshit, it opens the show. I mean, perfect. So it wasn't, and for what it was, the match was, just barely over 10 minutes, which was in line with, the range of what it was for the card. It is what it is. I think that, It's just a testament to what a professional QT is and how he has been for a very long time. Not just being a damn good wrestler, but just because that's one side of it, but just the promoter side of it. Just being a good hand. Just somebody that you can rely on full time, and
a lot of value in and out of the ring, around the business. And somebody you can proudly want to represent your brand because of what they can do in all facets. So definitely gotta add to him. Damien, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about these Costco guys.
I can't stand most influencers. I think 2 Chainz knows this. I rant and rave about influencers, but they have maximized their 20 minutes, forget 15. They maximized their 20 minutes of fame to the point where I found out, I think I heard it on Levitard show, where AJ actually used to be a professional wrestler, or at least trained to be a professional wrestler.
He was an indie guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why for me it was fun. It was fun when I have it in that context. I'm like, oh, it's not like you're just putting Snooki in there to wrestle somebody. Like, this is an actual guy who's been trained. Mm-hmm. And to Jamal and everybody's point, QT Marshall, who used to be Cody's friend, when he first started, and now he is the person who takes care of everybody. And that was a really well executed match. Dare I say we could have had maybe 2 more minutes added to the match. That was a hell of a spear at the end. I was thoroughly surprised by that spear by Big Justice. It was just fun. And y'all know me. Sometimes AEW isn't fun for me.
You don't have to overthink it. It can just be fun.
It's just
fun. You know what it was to me? They wrestled a small room indie match in an arena. It was the small room indie match where, like, maybe the local head coach is getting to take on the local bad guy or something. That's all it was. And they didn't try to change it up anything more than that. It was their local star indie match in an arena.
Yeah, Two things I want to add to that too is this shows you, because I know there was a discussion about the indies dying. This still shows you the magic of the indies.
From who?
Because you know how this goes. Okay. The whole ID thing. The indies are going to die. Not us. But this just shows you just the lore of wanting to go to an indie show, because this is what you get. But I would also say too, you talk about it being in small venue, sort of indie fashion, but it also goes back to just pandemic wrestling and also the beginning of AEW. This is a lot of what AEW was when we first started, about I don't know this guy, but I'm interested because somehow, some way, this guy got a lot of attention and he worked himself into a match. It started with the Cody Open challenges, and we've seen is it Warhawk? His name is slipping out of my head now. But how Warhorse. Thank you. Yeah, here we go. But you see how folks, somehow, some way worked their way up to getting the attention via the social media, and they got themselves in a match. And some folks worked, some folks didn't, but nonetheless, it was still a draw, because it was who am I about to discover new? And I think, as Jamal alluded to, whether you knew him or not, here we are talking about them, and that's just what I felt the magic of AEW was in the beginning. And then I guess for me, it felt good to kind of see that magic return for one match.
Yeah. Also, just really quickly, I think the match itself, from a pacing, from a build, from a storyline standpoint, because it really felt very late 80s, early 90s. Just how the everything was built. You didn't have to know a damn thing before, in the sense that it did feel like an indies match. Well, we didn't know that these guys wrestled, 2 towns over last weekend in a 60-minute bunkhouse brawl. It doesn't matter, because tonight they got 11 minutes and they're going to do what they need to do. And it really just felt like something very different from the current AEW. And, you'll see the next 10 matches are, very typical AEW, some for better or, for better or worse. But this was very different. And to that point of old AEW, I do miss the variety. It wasn't that Cody didn't fit. It was just that he provided a little bit of variety so that everybody had something to watch. Yeah. And now, as we talked about, Will and I talked about last week, there's just some matches on this card for the full pay-per-view that was like, no, I can skip this one. Oh, no, but it's a big deal. I'm not even arguing that. But I just don't care about these people, and I can skip it.
I definitely flipped the channels during some of these matches and came back later in the night. I was like, yeah, not interested in that one. Flip it over. Yeah. My only other thought on this show, so we can get into some other stuff. I thought Mercedes and Chris Statlander had a surprisingly hell of a match.
Easily their best match in the country.
Easily, possibly, I would say in discussion for Mercedes' best match since leaving WWE. Something happened that night. I don't know. But between her and Chris Statlander, something clicked. And hell, they went almost 20 minutes and surprised the hell out of me how the hell of a match they put together. So kudos to them. That was my really only other big takeaway from the show. That I was just like, whoa, they had their working boots on that night. So props to the ladies for showing out. All right. Any other thoughts on the card from you guys from looking at the
Yeah, I don't understand why Fletcher and Ospreay got damn near 25 minutes.
You know why. You know why.
Boring.
You know why.
I get those moves in. Got to get those moves in.
Yeah. Swerving and Big Bob, I enjoyed that match as well too, and I think that as good as Bobby Lashley's last run with WWE is, and to think that like nothing could have topped that, and even me as the fan was like, I can't believe he left, so to say. But I just think, when it's all said and done, Bobby has worked in every promotion.
Bobby's 75 years old.
And looking 35. But I just think he just continues to show like why he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Tremendous strength. He works all different types of styles. I think Swerve continues to show why he's one of the top wrestlers in AEW. So what I expected in that match, it definitely delivered, and looking forward to seeing where both of their careers go beyond this, because Bobby Lashley is somebody you say you want him near the championship. Obviously, Swerve is somebody you want near the championship, but it seems like the program is going in a different direction. So how do we keep two main players in championship contention without actually being in championship contention? So looking forward to see where that goes next.
Based on that, it's weird that you say that based on how the show actually ended. Because the show ended with this, like, the Scooby-Doo corridor where everybody's running through the different doors trying to chase after Jon Moxley. And then they run into each other. Oh, it's you. And then they run back through the other doors. And you would want Swerve or Lashley or both in that conversation as well.
Yeah.
So Darby's there, rightfully so. Okay, cool. And then we saw Christian has the dinero in the briefcase. Okay, cool. And then obviously Moxley's running for his life because I guess he's the big bad wolf. I can't take him seriously as a heel, but whatever. He's the guy that everybody wants. Or actually, he's not even a heel. The belt is the heel. It's like Genie's lamp. It has its own thing. And of course, he just beat Orange Cassidy, so Orange is definitely looking for a rematch. And while they're just running, and you can play the like the Wacky's Racers music as they're like running through the whole thing. It's like, wait a minute. This is my problem with AEW. Not that we see the same 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 names. It's just that Ricky Stark should have been in that conversation. That would have been a great opportunity to reintroduce him for however long he's going to be there, assuming that he's leaving. But that would have been a great time to say, like, no, fuck that. I'm coming back, and I'm coming back to the top. That would have been a great time to, and just because you throw a name in the ring doesn't mean that they're immediately going to do a thing. But you have Okada, you have Takeshita, you have Starks. Hobbs just came back. Those are 4 guys that could absolutely change the temperature in any room that they all step in. And then yet we're left with these guys and Swerve and Bobby on the bench. As far as being in that top, tip. I like the idea of the hunter becoming the hunted, but send everybody. Send them all.
Sure.
Because
what?
Okay, real quick. The last point. This is what we've been saying from the beginning. No one should not want to be champion.
That's it. I was about to say. Yeah.
And that's the thing that we've been saying for 5 years. And it seems at times, maybe you get preoccupied. Maybe you have the road to the championship meanders. But everybody should want to be a champion.
Yeah.
And now that the championship is in play, for whatever reason, go get it. Oh, no, I just had this match over here. I'm good.
Yeah. It's honestly, this is John Moxley's best booking of the company right now. I am, for just that notion alone, that makes me so intrigued to see the Hunter become the hunted. So
yeah, but that's not because of him. That's because of the circumstance.
Well, true, but yeah, but again, I think that it still has to go around him. To me, honestly, maybe not the best comparison, but anybody who's played Spider-Man 2, it kind of reminds me of like Craven, when in the sense of like Craven was out there going after everybody. Then all of a sudden he ran to the big bad wolf of the Venom Spider-Man and anybody else that was after him beforehand. And then it's just like, oh, he ain't looking so tough after all now. How is he going to, what's the retreating of this Venom and Spider-Man? What's the retreating of this going to look like? Where's this story going to go? So I'm definitely intrigued though. But yeah, it's a problem
to a story that was kind of losing the thing. I mean, hell, I said it last week. Orange Cassidy should win the belt just so that we get some number one, he deserves it. But number two, just so that we get something fresh. Right. And then they actually do this, which is, to be fair, a bit fresh. So it is interesting to see the way it's going, but I would send everybody and their mother in there to go get the belt off Moxley.
I do like Man in Black, Orange Cassidy. I don't know. There was just something about
Dark Side Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, nigga Orange Cassidy. I kind of like that for whatever reason.
I think Blood Orange Cassidy should absolutely be a character on Fight Forever season 12, whatever the hell they up to now. But
there you go. All right, let's switch gears since we're still in our first half here, and we got a lot to get into tonight. We got a curveball thrown at us last night on Raw that we kind of thought this was coming, but I didn't think it was coming this quick, and it kind of bothers me that it came this quick. So we just it ain't even been a month that we were sitting here talking about,
2 weeks.
We're rolling out the Women's United States title, and it's going to be across all brands.
That's exactly what I wanted, up and down the board with this one. Except the fact that it leaked before the show.
About damn time, how we named the show that night about that damn time. And now here we are. They haven't even finished that tournament. They ain't even out of the first round. And now Raw's like, oh, hold up, over here. We got ours too. Here's the Women's Intercontinental title. We're going to throw
Let me ask you, Will, how do you feel about that? Because when we were talking about that, I said that I felt like, in the sense of like, if we're actually looking at two legit companies with two general managers, one is down bad.
Right.
But if Adam Pearce wants to at some point be a part of the conversation, yes, these are things he needs to do. So the fact that he's doing those things.
I get why they did it, to have one on each side and to have parity, but I hate the way they executed it, because this comes across so awkward now that they started up the one, they ain't even finished that tournament, and now it's like, oh no, now let's do this one too. Yeah. I don't. If they wanted to roll this out, I think it could have been rolled out in a better way. And that's my only, when it was announced last night, I was like, huh? I was just like, I don't, that's the thing. I was trying to be careful about how I phrased it all. It's like, I don't have a problem with the idea of a women's intercontinental title, but the way they've executed this is very tripping over their own feet, where it's like, I'd like to have the focus on the US, get that established, then do this one, or you had to do them at the same time. But this, like, one got a head start by 3 weeks, and now this one's running up behind, trying to keep up. I don't know. It's weird to me, but hell, let's do the question we did that on the U.S. title one. Same damn deal. The obvious thing in the room: who should be the first women's intercontinental champion? Now that we know this is just for the Raw roster, who are we looking at? We were all about Chelsea Green on the other side, so who are we looking at on Raw here? Damian, I'm gonna go to you first, since you're our women's wrestling aficionado.
I will go on a limb and say Dakota Kai.
Oh God, that's where I was going to.
That for me. And here's why: the vignette they showed last week, and then her just coming back from injury. They're trying to plant seeds for people to have them be relevant to the general fan. And Dakota's been gone for so long with multitude of injuries, and she can't catch a break. She's like worse than Tegan Knox almost when it comes to injuries. But I think logically, if you want to make Damage Control, I guess, big again, making her the inaugural Intercontinental Champion could be something fun, and maybe sow some dissent amongst the group if you want to break them up eventually. if I'm gonna go second choice, I know the crowd is yelling for Zelina Vega, or at least some people are. I'm not. I'd go left field and I'd say Lyra Valkyria, only because she's also been getting some vignettes and she's been doing double duty on NXT as well as on Raw, and she's a Triple H girl. So
she's got to be in the mix, I'm sure.
Yeah, she would have to be in the mix somewhere to get her a bigger audience. And why not go with a curveball? If we're going to go with an established superstar over on the U.S. women's side, why not just take a flyer on someone new or someone you don't expect on the Raw side?
Interesting. So the very short answer is because I don't know when Asuka's coming back. Because Charlotte's, is she a free agent or is she on SmackDown?
Last she was seen, she was on SmackDown, but I think when people return from long injuries, they can show up wherever the hell they want. Thank you.
I know that I said Natalia last time, because I just think that, just not knowing how long she is going to be there, it would be easier for her to say her again. It would be interesting, and I haven't really been keeping up with whatever they've been doing with the Wyatt thing. But it would be interesting to see them kind of push that thing forward with Nikki Cross getting the belt.
It'd be different.
It would be different. It would be different. I don't know what exactly that adds to the group as a whole because of the whole, well, we're all together until people start fighting, and then men and women have to break off and do their own thing. But I think it would push their movement forward a bit, instead of just being, just the characters, super hardcore characters, and then they wrestle. Actually give them something to do. And I think that Nikki Cross is a champion. We've seen her as a champion before, so it's not like it's something that we will be unaccustomed to. It's just that with this new thing, it's an interesting wrinkle.
Also, speaking of the Wyatt Six, I'm not sure why they're not in a War Games match. I feel like there was a missed opportunity there with them and
Final
Karrion
Testament.
Yeah, could have signed up for that. I was looking at the roster too. Obviously, Natalya again jumps out at me because everybody else on the Raw women's roster definitely has some things going on. Celis with the Lash Legend thing. I just wish he was here to just say something silly because golly. But yeah, listen, I think if I stick to my guns and if you don't go Natalya on SmackDown, one of these belts need to have an established wrestler with somebody coming back. So if you're going to go with Charlotte on one, I say on Raw, you go with Becky. And
Nikita Lyons.
You bring her back to get it off the ground and let her put people over as she has done. I will also think if you're doing a tournament style, her and Lyra Valkyria for the finals is a great callback, a great match that we know that could deliver for a championship, for a crowning of the championship. But yeah, so the established person I go with, I'll go with Becky. But then I think I kind of go with Natalya too on this. So I don't know. I'm not sure who up and coming jumps out to me instantly.
I'm going to give you an up and comer. Looking at the roster here that jumped out at me, that has not been seen in a while, that has been missing, possibly injury related. We're not quite sure, but I have seen her on Instagram, so it's not like she's totally hiding anywhere. You want a curveball? They drafted her. They didn't do nothing with her. Kiana James, that they brought up from NXT.
Isn't she still injured?
She hasn't been on TV at all. But this would be a perfect way to reintroduce her and give her something to. Because when they drafted her, she was around. They had her like trying to talk to Adam Pearce in the back, but they never like really did anything with her. So I don't know if she's ready to go. But I mean, NXT, she had a much bigger role there. So clearly they were doing stuff with her there. So I don't know, left field idea if she's ready to return, to throw someone like that in there coming up from NXT as like, way to make them with like a new title. I don't know.
If Celis was here, I'd make him mad and say Jakara Jackson. Just so I can see him blow a gasket.
There you go.
You think they should do another tournament?
Yeah, they haven't said what they're doing yet. They said Well, I guess in the announcement, Pierce said a tournament, but he did not say what form of a tournament. So, Lord knows this SmackDown one, they're doing 3 ways that turn into singles matches for the next round to the final. So, yeah, I mean, they haven't said how they're doing it yet. I'm guessing we'll get that next Monday. So, we'll see.
Ladder match. We talked about it before. Make it a ladder match.
And just get like qualifiers and get like 6 people in there or something and just do it. Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, we're at halftime. We've made it halfway through. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have our halftime break like we do. And then when we come back, we'll have our WWE ID segment. We got to talk about the New Day in the second half. And then Survivor Series is this weekend to close out the show. So a packed second half coming at you. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, limited time offer here at Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Again, that is Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. And let them know Damon G sent you.
All right, folks, when we come out of halftime, these days we are checking out what's happening with the WWE ID program. So let's see what's happening with the Big Old Belt Wrestling Podcast, WWE ID Spotlight. Right.
So for this week, we're going to go up to Detroit, southeast of Michigan, northern Windsor, whatever you want to call it. But it's Detroit. And Detroit has a lot of wrestlers that come out of there. Bischoff is from Detroit. Donovan Danhausen is from Detroit. Better wrestlers. Rhino is from Detroit. Motor City Machine Guns, obviously, from Motor City. Allison Kay. And Freedom Ramsey, who was identified by WWE as their newest WWE ID. And I think that tweet went out earlier today. I know that I've heard that name before because you don't get too many guys named Freedom. And he was actually on an episode of AEW Dark Elevation back in 2023. He's the current CCW Heavyweight Championship. He's been doing that since early June. And one of the things that I like about him is that because his name is Freedom, and he obviously plays on that America, but he has the crazy eyes. Everything's super intense and crazy when he's talking about freedom. And he means it as a metaphor, but he also means it as, literally himself, because his catchphrase is, believe in freedom. Freedom will set you free. Obviously, pretty slick, turn of a phrase there. But as far as the wrestling goes, he's, got a very interesting hybrid moveset that's not, atypical of today. Can do a little bit of everything. Good mat wrestler, hell of a drop kick, can go up to the top rope and do a thing. Big hitter when he needs to. So really a good utility player that would be interesting to see how it works out well in WWE. Now, of course, he's one of those guys because, they're having the big, WWE ID Super Show down there in Florida. Good old Gabe is putting that on in mid-December. It'll be interesting to see what the matchups look like, because it's not that he, can't do any one thing. He does a lot of things well. So how does that reel. Yeah, so how does that pair against, and that's another thing too. You said it last week. If you're going to be ID'd, you need to highlight reel on. Yeah, we need that pin early. So, but you know, you can check him out on the Twitter at Freedom Ramsey, and you know, it has the highlight reel pinned as you should. But it's another guy out of a long lineage of wrestlers from southeastern Michigan, specifically Detroit. And another thing that caught my eye was trained by Truth Martini, another good Detroit wrestler. So yeah, Freedom Ramsey, you know, obviously caught their eye. Now that he's caught their eye, he's caught my eye, and he's a guy that we've identified. I did not mean for all of that to rhyme. For the WWE ID Spotlight this week.
There we go. Yeah, I think like we said last week, the key thing is if you get the ID tag, you got to get that highlight reel on your Twitter immediately, especially for these young guys that we don't know. Just making it very easy to come and be like, all right, let this play here. Let me see what's going on with this. And like you said, he's got a lot. He looks like he's very all around. I don't see one thing standing out about him as much as because last week, Ricky Smokes, he had the character. He had like the presentation. This is more just this looks like a piece of clay that needs to be shaped into something. But the basics are there.
I hate to make the comparison, but take the name away from it. He reminds me of Patrick Clark.
Oh,
now
I see.
And the reason why I say that,
I see it.
MCW Patrick Clark.
Right. And I don't mean the other guy, but I specifically mean Patrick Clark. And we were waiting for him to get that character, especially compared to Ricky Smokes from last week. And it's just like, okay, well, we know what you can do. Where does it lead? We need to put the other part together. And I think, you know, being on the freedom side of things, the consequences creed of it all comes to mind, you know, as well when you start thinking of that. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, he definitely has the skill set to do it in the ring. Now WWE is going to put the tarp on him and get him shaped up into whatever the wrestler they need him to be. So yeah, it's up. Good on him, and we'll see what we do next week.
There we go. And you gave me a perfect transition there, mentioning one Consequences Creed, because we have to talk about. There is drama brewing. There is a 10-year anniversary coming next week. There was some stiff words exchanged last night on Raw, some very hurt feelings, some history brought up in lots of different ways. And it all leads to one question that we have to ask and we have to address tonight. Is this the end for the New Day? Have we reached the end of the road?
No.
2 Chainz, I'm going to you first.
No. So first of all, the success of the New Day is because these 3 guys have been able to be themselves, because when Vince wanted to make them God's property, thank God that God himself must have came down and said no. But the fact that they have organically been able to be themselves has bred 10 years of success with them. So in order for this to work for them to have us on our edge of our seats, they had to get personal. They're going to have to hit low because we're going to have to really believe that these guys that we know are friends, that are really nice guys, can be mean. Kobe hitting low. I'm like, hold on now. Hold on now.
You ain't never won a title
at all.
You
but I mean,
Brock Lesnar in 6 seconds.
But like, see, you feel it though. You feel it when your heroes become the villains. You know, you're like, damn, I can't believe that. So like, that's why we're asking the question, because we see the possibilities here, but we also are forgetting that there's one big letter missing in the midst of this. And I think they are cooking something up to bring Big E back in a big way, to get them back on the same page and to get the train rolling again. 10 more years of the New Days is what I think we're ahead against. But we had to feel like this was coming to an end just for somebody to bring it back together, and the show continues. They can't work as heels. These guys are merch movers. They do so much together outside of WWE. You don't just get an Xavier Woods appearance without Kofi being behind him and E being there, and they're doing all this charity stuff. They're doing video game stuff. They're doing pop culture stuff. And you think you're going to break that up for the sake of a wrestling match? Hell no. I just think this is something to keep us interested, keep us glued, and just to get our guy Big E to return in a way that could possibly be one of the biggest pops in WWE history, considering how they built this together.
All right, Damian, are you on the same page, or are the cracks going to be too much to overcome?
Oh, I'm on the same page, but I'll be brief and say the New Day was getting super stale up to this point. So now we've thrown a little bit of a wrinkle in there, and even they're playing into it with the Goku Black versus Goku outfits on Raw yesterday. So I like the nods that are keeping things interesting, and families fight, right? So this is one of those times where the New Day's family issues have made it out in the public eye. I said on the show before, if they do turn heel, I would like Kofi to be the one in a swerve to be heel, because we've never seen heel Kofi before, and maybe he will be angry about the Brock Lesnar thing and show some fire that we may have never seen before. But aside from that, at least we're interested in the New Day, and this sets us up for more bootios for another 10 years, to quote 2 James. So
I can't imagine the New Day breaking up and doing anything meaningful in the singles run, largely because there's just no space for them at the top. Also, I just think that this thing is kind of old hat. Like when Big E went down, and the question was, how will the New Day, keep going? Can they keep going as 2? Should they get a third? Will Big E just be a manager? And we haven't really seen that since. Why can't they just go and try and win? Why does it have to be this? Oh, well, we have this animosity. It's going to lead to a match, bad blood or whatever the hell pay-per-view is coming up, or whatever that blow-off is going to be. Do we need that? Do we need to go down this road for Woods to get a title? Do we need to go down this road for Kofi to be in the spot with the
yes,
world title
yeses.
picture?
Both yeses.
1, 2 maybe, but need? No, I don't think so.
When you think about Kofi's title run, it kind of was the same thing. We had to believe that Kofi can do it, and they had to light a fire under Kofi's ass. And does this make them go from just happy-go-lucky, I'm happy to be here characters to like, no, I need to go win some gold?
But how much of that was Vince, though? How much of that was Vince going, oh, yeah, I know you're about a second away from being Crime Time 2.0. So, we already knew what that was, behind the scenes, where they were about to be God's property, shucking and jiving all the way across the thing, and then they turned it into something else. And then luckily the culture followed them. So then going from that and that like subtext to, were they held back because of their own merits, or was it just the old man in the chair going, we need to do Crime Time, just so you know? And I really think it's possibly a little bit of both. And now that they're kind of, stale, ironically, because Big E isn't there, okay, we'll get his ass out there. Put him in a suit, put him on commentary, let him be a manager, and get him going. But to be fair, I would rather see them break up and just go their own way, one to SmackDown, one to Raw. Lord knows they've done it with the Usos enough. Than this. I don't need this.
Yeah, I think they went so heavy-handed last night with this that I can't imagine they're doing the breakup next week. It's too they were too in your face about it last night. Yeah. So I think the key. I think y'all are on the right track with that event. This has got to be all about Big E. It's got to be all about bringing Big E back. The two of them are going to be out there and there's our arguing again. Big E's music's going to hit. He's going to return, and either he's going to get them back on the same page or get them back on the same page. Hopefully, what I'd like to see is he gets them back on the same page with like a new attitude, with some kind of edge, some kind of twist to this where it's like, all right, you guys are hungry, you guys are upset, then let's do something with that. And maybe so it's not just rehashing the New Day again just because he's back. It's them back together, but with a new twist on it.
There's a difference between being motivated and being a heel faction. We've already seen the Hurt Business. We don't need another group or heel street profits. I don't need that.
Yeah, they'll never be.
You need a New Day that's hungry. Is all. Yeah, a New Day with some attitude, but not like they don't need to be cheating. It's like that's not them.
But again, 2 for 2 on this for each of the three. When they did it to Kofi, championship. When they did it to Big E, championship. I think they're just running the script again, and they're going to now put it on Xavier Woods, because I think at the end of the day, they will transition fully to, coasting out into being less of a prominent, mainstay of a staple. But they're not going to hang it up until Xavier gets his go. Does he win the big one? Maybe not. But should he win at least one? Probably so. I think it's definitely a big, huge. It's almost as if like Iverson winning the championship, except they don't want that to happen. This guy needs to do it, and I think they're just going to run the same script of motivating him, one way, shape, or form. So let them have a little bit more grit and not just being out there coming out with a half-ass entrance, or they're already in the ring. Like these ain't this ain't the most decorated tag team of all time.
Right.
Like, we're gonna put WWE to invest in the New Day, though.
I think Big E comes back, and I think that changes. Also, I think we should also note that what Big E has been doing outside of his injury also should garner more attention to them as well too, because he's on college programs. Obviously, he's doing he's doing commentary as well. So you can't just bring him back and he just be just any and everybody out there. I think you have to treat him like he's a legitimate star, and like the New Day, as we know, as a trio of who they were. We're never going to talk about the Odyssey Jones thing, so don't worry about that.
Who?
That came and went very quick. That's for sure. That can be doesn't even need to be a star or a little thing on their Wikipedia page. I'd be like, yeah, that never even happened. That never even happened.
All
right. Well, we will see next week with the 10th anniversary. I think on next week's show here, we'll be talking about the return of Big E and what they did to light a spark. We will see. So, all right. We will stay tuned on that. So, last but not least, we got a big weekend ahead of us. We got a big show ahead of us. And we have not really talked about this show as they've been building it and putting the pieces together. Lord knows for months we've been talking about that we knew this moment was coming, that it was building to this. But now that it's here, they have definitely thrown some twists in this that I was not expecting, that I did not see coming. And last Friday's SmackDown was very interesting. And Lord knows how it did on social media. They definitely have caught a lot of people's attention with the finishing touches they put on this. So this Saturday, Survivor Series in Vancouver, of all places. War games as they've been doing for the past couple years. We got our double war games, women's war games, and men's war games. I'll run down the card real quick before we get into it, since they added some matches last night. We're going to have for the U.S. title, LA Knight versus the returning Shinsuke Nakamura. We're going to have a three-way for the Intercontinental Championship with Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. And our other title match we will have for the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther versus Damian Priest, as our three title matches on the show, things that do not involve war games. On the war game side, we have the women's war games. On one side, we have Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky. Jade Cargill was going to be on that team, but she has gotten injured. She is
legitimate injury.
Legitimate injury. They're not saying what, but she is definitely out for a while. So what's going to happen with those women's tag titles? That's a whole nother question. Coming out of Raw last night, they are certainly heavily making it look like Bayley will be her replacement. So we will see what happens with that on SmackDown. So that looks like to be the team on that side. And on the other side of the coin, we have the team of the Judgment Day with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae, of all people, rounding out the other side.
Good for her, man, because after Whistle-Face Indy Hartwell was let go, you start to look like, oh boy, it's only a matter of time. But good to see Candice is still in the mix, and hopefully we get to see the Candice that we all fell in love with on the Indies really get to do her thing. Her working this very heel program with some other powerhouses of heels right now is definitely a good rub for her.
Yeah, before we go any further, let's talk about this part of the card first, because that main event's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But yeah, when they added Candice to that match right away, I was like, damn, if anyone's taking the fall on that side, that sure looks like who it is, because one of these things is not like the other as far as that lineup there. But it is what it is. Hey, it's a role that's got to be played. Unless they're throwing us a swerve and they're going to have the the heels go over with their mixed team with like, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax as like double champions on one side there. But the women's war game doesn't feel as hot to me this year as it did the last couple years. But I guess we're just the deal with war games now is if they're doing one, they gotta do the other. So I'm not as into women's war games this year as I was last year. With
Stables,
damage control.
That's it. Stables always is a better storytelling because the continuity. I'm just never ever a fan of tag teams that are just rinky dink put together. And he's like, they're friends. Just throw them
and
together.
That's what we're getting here with the whole like, well, we'll put the women's champs together, Liv and Nia, because they're both heels and
who just wrestled last month.
So, yeah. So it's like this is very thrown together teams here. It is what it is. As far as those other matches go. Really interested now in Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser after last night because I don't know how Braun Breaker's standing after he took the corner of the damn announce table at like 90 miles an hour essentially. So I'm really interested in that one. And honestly, this whole card's really. I mean, Gunther and Damian Priest. I like this whole story they're doing where Gunther has doubt. He doesn't have his mojo. Cody beating him at Crown Jewel. I like it. I like it as something different because we've had unbeatable, stoic Gunther the whole time he's been here. So to have this, even it's just this one match where he ain't sure. He ain't got his usual, energy, his usual aura. I don't know. It does something for him. Yeah, I'm not expecting him to lose, but I like it as something different to have a different presentation.
Different, you say, kind of reminds me of this other wrestler that wanted to finish their story, and they needed everybody to motivate them.
Jamal, thoughts on any of those matches before we move on?
I think that the Gunther versus Damian Priest seems to be the most interesting, largely because it's the most straightforward. You don't really, they could do a thing and surprise us. They probably won't, but because the inkling is there, it makes it a little bit more interesting for me. I'm not really feeling the women's War Games match this year. I'll never care about Braun Breaker, and LA Knight versus Nakamura could be fun, but Also, 5 matches on Survivor Series. I'm not saying that we need the normal 6-hour affair, but this is one of the big 5. And I think that there is more to be said about Survivor Series than just a 5-match affair. Yes, I'm well aware that the War Games match is going to take 40 minutes apiece, but I still think that they could sneak in a 10-minute match.
One more would be nice.
Yeah, one more. One more would be nice. It's a bigger stage. They're in Vancouver.
It needs another women's match. Is what it needs.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Just a nice, simple, single women's match, and 6 would be a good number. Not mad at that at all. So, but otherwise, it's fine. And then, of course, the men's War Game matches. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into it. So,
hold on. So wait. Hold on. I just want firm, quick prediction here. You feel like Bayley's going to be the one to fill in that 5th slot? No one else? That's just where we're going at, Bayley? Simple answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't seem to tease anything else last night. So unless they throw some curveball on a SmackDown.
Big question is who put Jade out?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be an ongoing story. I think that story is going to stretch for a bit. There's definitely going to be a story there. Okay. Absolutely.
Also, Will, before we move on real quick, I like the thought of a cash-in the cage with 2 women's world champions and the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Didn't think of that.
Oh my God.
That's a wrinkle.
That's your 6th match.
A wrinkle. You know what? You're right. That is your 6th match.
At the end. That's crazy.
And Damian might have just cracked the code.
You know what, though? They don't got the balls to do that because if they did, they would have let her cash in at Crown Jewel because that would have also been like, wait a minute, how many belts does she win here?
Nah, they wouldn't do that for the royal family and Crown Jewel. They want to do that for the fans of Vancouver. Yeah. Bring back the Grizzlies. But I'll also say, well, as someone who grew up on Survivor Series, if we really did want to do something, do a quick elimination match. Like that would have been fine. An old school elimination match with tag teams.
Yeah, a bunch of people on the show.
Yeah, just to get them on the show or the pre-show. Do a traditional Survivor Series match.
Oh, I'd love it.
Just for nostalgia, because I know you love the tag team ones. So
damn
just for
right.
nostalgia.
Hell yeah. There you go.
And have the gobbledygooker make an appearance. Just because.
Oh yes. All right, let's talk about it now, because we've been building to this pretty much since WrestleMania. We figured it was coming. So Bloodline versus Bloodline. This is it. It's finally here. But we got a little added twist to it. So we've had how long? I feel this is going to be 4-on-4 because it made all the sense in the world. Just keep it to the core characters. Yeah. But then a week or so back, we get Bronson Reed involved, which has grown on me because it's given the Bloodline 2.0 to me a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of some legitimacy, where they got the guy that's been the monster on Raw showing up there. Right. And he fits right in with them. So I like when they added Bronson Reed. I didn't see that coming. And I was like, okay, if we're doing 5, all right. And then all along I figured, well, Bronson's been feuding with Seth, and they were teasing it, Laurie Cal on TV, you know, Seth Rollins got to be the other guy, but Seth and Roman don't get along. So out of nowhere this Friday, I did not see this coming. And it was just like, the wise man returns. He calls in, you know, throws a wild card in the mix. And lo and behold, CM Punk is the 5th member of the team through being a Paul Heyman guy. I guess as the bridge, I'm sure they will go into this on SmackDown. Because the first thing I was thinking, I was like, how the hell is Heyman selling Roman Reigns on CM Punk being his 5th guy? So thoughts on that? CM Punk is like the wild card 5th member of this team out of nowhere. I was caught totally off guard with it.
Very short. I don't mind it, largely because old man Punk doesn't have to do a lot to make an impact.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah. Brings him back too, because he kind of did this disappear, and it's like, wait, how long is it going to be gone? So not mad at that for the fact of keeping him relevant. But also I think too, like Netflix probably called up and said, excuse me, we need that guy back one way or another. So y'all need to figure it out. But yeah, I'm not mad at it. I mean, I know people were booking Brock into it, which you can't put Brock for the reason that Will said that Bronson Reed gives them the edge, because as soon as Brock goes next to Roman, that just looks insane right there. Yeah. So yeah,
you don't want to undercut Bronson.
They did a really good job with this. I'm wondering how Seth plays into this. I wonder if the Seth and Punk thing gets start to pick back up. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really just really this is a good situation for them. And I think there was concern because people thought it needed to be Bloodline versus Bloodline. And it's funny because people were going to, anybody that was going to be a part of the Bloodline, they were going to say, oh, they're not Samoan. So they're not part of that family, you know? So I like the fact that like it's not Bloodline, the family, but Bloodline, the staple plus stable, friends. Yeah, mm-hmm. Stable. Keep saying staple. So yeah, I'm not mad at it. It's definitely a surprise, but I'm definitely thought they got it right with this.
Yeah, and it bridges a lot of narrative storytelling wise. Will, you said it before with Seth and with Punk, and it could potentially lead to Punk and Roman. Maybe there's some miscommunication in the cage, and Punk hits Roman. Like, there's so many different varying ways you can go with this. I personally think the Bloodline 2.0 should go over. You know, I feel like at this point you need to, but I'm just really intrigued about Paul Heyman because, you know, I've been looking on social media and people are playing conspiracy theorists with the black and red shirt that Paul, or suit that Paul was wearing, comparing it to what Solo typically wears, like a good fella. And I'm thinking, what if Paul Heyman does screw over Roman Reigns? That wouldn't be the first time he screwed somebody over. I mean, he screwed Punk over before. He screwed over Brock Lesnar before. So this would not be out of the realm of possibility. So that's probably the only wrinkle I really am interested in the men's War Game match. But it'll be fun regardless. But I don't really mind the Punk choice. Like I said, it bridges so many different things. And it keeps going into Rumble season.
Yeah, no, it creates a ton of possibilities. I honestly wasn't expecting to see him back till the Netflix debut. I figured he was taking the holidays off when he disappeared after Hell in a Cell. But here we are, and I'm not minding it because it definitely they got the history of Roman. Seth clearly is not on the show, but I'm thinking he might make an appearance. I think either y'all are on a good track with that. There's that Paul Heyman factor. Where does he stand in this? There is a lot of wild cards in that match, and there's a lot of ways. That's a good situation to have a main event where you could go 3, 4, 5 different ways with it, but they would all make sense. So that's never a thing I'm going to complain about when you have an unpredictable main event, but the pieces all fit for different ways they could go. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week when Survivor Series is done. I got a feeling. So, all right. Any other Survivor Series thoughts? I got everything in I want to say about it.
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. And I also think it's interesting, even though it's 5 matches, who's not on the card as of right now.
Yeah.
Which, of course.
No
Cody. Seth isn't there officially. No Nikita Lyons. I mean, like, who else could show up?
Definitely a lot of open spots here. So, I think we'll get some surprises. I mean, it was last year's Survivor Series for Punk return. So, surprises can absolutely happen. All right. So, to wrap it up on our Thanksgiving week show, since we got the boss man here, what are you watching? There's a lot of stuff premiering this week. So what is our big, what should we be checking out over the long holiday weekend?
No surprises. Not a lot of competition this week. Moana 2 is in theaters. I enjoyed this one. A lot of fun. I've heard some early reactions with sort of critiques about the music and how the music isn't as catchy as the first one, but also when you don't have what's his name, Hamilton, we don't have him a part of this project. Obviously he's the master of catchy music. What are you going to do? But The Rock and him are teaming up for the live action version of that, which I definitely don't understand why that's coming around the corner so quick. But there you have it. But yeah, Moana 2, a lot of fun. Great action, great animation, great story. They're building so much to tell with that going forward. And I think it's definitely a good film to watch. If you love the first one, if you love Disney animation, I think it's a no-brainer for you to watch this week with your family. And I don't think there's anything else this week besides, the things that came out last week. Gladiator 2.
Wicked's the other big one.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure everybody ran to the theaters for that. But for this weekend, Moana 2.
All right, my daughter's already bugging about it, but she wants to go see it with her friends. So I think it's going to take a week or so for that to happen. But there we go. Well, folks, thanks for joining us for our Thanksgiving week episode. Hope you get where you need to be, get that turkey and all the fixings and sides and all that good stuff this week. But normally, Thursday nights, 8 p.m., we are streaming live each and every week. We were not going to be doing a Thursday 8 p.m. show during Thanksgiving. So there was zero chance of that. So that's why this is our special early Thanksgiving episode this week. So next week, we will be back to Thursdays at 8 p.m. streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, X, all the different platforms we can get the signal on streaming live. The show afterwards lives on YouTube. If you're looking for the video feeds, the video feed is there. And of course, the next morning, the podcast version drops on all your favorite podcast platforms. So tons of ways to listen, as always. On social media, at Big Gold Belt across the board. So whether it's X, Instagram, the Blue Sky, it's all there. At Big Gold Belt, wherever you can find us. And of course, biggoldbelt.com, the website with all the reviews and everything entertainment, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. We got you covered at biggoldbelt.com. So folks, we will see you next week. Get ready for Survivor Series. Get where you need to be. Get home safe. Have some turkey. Have seconds. Have your leftovers the next day. Pumpkin pie. All that good stuff. And we will see you in a week. And we'll talk some wrestling, talk Survivor Series, and whatever else is going on. So until then, take care, and we will talk to you later.
All I really need,